This would be one of the most explosive confrontations in recent oversight history just took place, peeling back the layers on the long-suspected government cover-up surrounding the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Republican Representative Thomas Massie has turned the heat directly back on the Trump administration, accusing both the former president and FBI Director Kash Patel of deliberately protecting rich and powerful friends whose names are buried in secret files. The drama unfolded in a heated House Oversight hearing where Massie publicly torched FBI Director Kash Patel, challenging him over what the FBI supposedly knows. Massie asserted that the Bureau is in possession of key FD302 documents, statements taken from victims, that detail a shocking truth. At least 20 men to whom Jeffrey Epstein allegedly trafficked women and girls, including minors. The list of alleged perpetrators contained in these files is staggering, painting a picture of systemic abuse across the global elite. It reportedly includes a royal prince, a high-profile government official, a former politician, a prominent banker, Mr. Jes Staley, a Hollywood producer, and at least 6 billionaires, including one from Canada. But the controversy goes deeper than just the list of names. Massie demanded to know why Director Patel previously swore that there was no credible information that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone besides himself. Massie challenged Patel directly, asking if the FBI was asserting that the victims who provided information about these 20 men were simply not credible. Adding to the explosive nature of this investigation, Massie introduced documents referencing claims that Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. We're also talking about Epstein's private calendar revealing planned meetings with a CIA chief and the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence, Ehud Barak. Did the highest levels of government conspire to keep these names hidden? Is the FBI currently choosing to protect figures based on their power and influence? Stay tuned as we break down this tense confrontation, where the alleged crimes of the powerful met the political fire of an unprecedented investigation.
Gentleman, Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized.
So I've got 4 documents I'd like to introduce into the record. The first one is Jeffrey Epstein's sick story played out for years in plain sight. And Acosta is quoted in here saying, "I was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone." The second document is entitled, "What Epstein's Bodyguard Warned About His CIA Connections." The third document is from Fox Digital. It's titled, "Epstein's Private Calendar Reveals Planned Meetings with Obama Admin Official CIA Chief." And the last document is Wall Street Journal article that highlights Ehud Barak's 36 meetings with Jeffrey Epstein. He was the former Prime Minister of Israel and head of military intelligence for Israel. It may have held that title when he met Epstein, and then, yes.
Without objection, the gentleman will hold for a second. The gentleman from Maryland is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one UC request. This is Judge Engelmeyer's decision from August in U.S. versus Epstein, stating the government's 100,000 pages of Epstein files dwarfs the 70-odd pages of Epstein grand jury materials.
Without objection, the gentleman from Kentucky is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Patel, I watched some of your Senate hearing yesterday when Senator Kennedy asked you, "You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these women to besides himself?" You replied, according to the transcript, "There is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else." You also said somewhere in the hearing and here today that the problem is that the case files are constrained by limited search warrants from 2006 to 2007 and that the non-prosecution agreement hamstrung future investigations. Those constraints only apply to Southern District of Florida. They do not apply to Southern District of New York, the location of the 2019 sex trafficking indictment, which produced many things, including a series of FD302 documents. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jes Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to, victims including minors such as Virginia Roberts, Giuffre, may she rest in peace. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada. We know these people exist in the FBI files, the files that you control. I don't know exactly who they are, but the FBI does. Have you launched any investigations into any of these people, and have you seen these 302 documents?
Sir, I have asked my FBI agents to review the entirety of the Epstein files and bring forth any credible information, and we're working with Congress not only to divulge that information and produce it to you, but any investigations that arise from any credible investigation will be brought. There have been no new materials brought to me launching a new indictment.
So is the loophole here, or is it your assertion that these victims aren't credible, that the 302s maybe didn't produce credible statements that rise to a probable cause?
It's not my assertion, sir. It's the assertion of two different United States attorneys' offices from 3 separate administrations who investigated those same materials in live time.
Are the 302 documents in the FBI's possession?
They reviewed all that, yes, sir.
And so have you reviewed those 302 documents where the victims name the people who victimized them?
If I personally know, but the FBI has.
So how can you sit here and in front of the Senate and say there are no names?
I said
I named one today.
I said we are not in the practice at the Department of Justice FBI of releasing victims' names. That is not what we do. We are also not in the habit of releasing incredible information. That's not what we do. But multiple authorities have looked at the entirety of what we have.
Okay, I got to move on here. Were you present when the AG had the White House event when she released the binders to the social media influencers?
I was, yes.
So if you're willing to meet with social media influencers who stood to benefit from the sensational and sad stories of these victims, will you meet with the victims as well?
The FBI will meet with anyone who has new information.
Will you personally meet with them?
The FBI and the professionals who are handling the cases will.
Were you instructed that it was important to release the documents to the Oversight Committee on the day of my introduction of the discharge petition to release these files?
I don't know what day that was, so no.
Well, they were released that day, and there were victims' names who weren't redacted because they were in such a rush, and the victims are not happy about that. Have you investigated any of the CIA connections? Have you seen the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein? And if you wanted to see it, would they show it to you?
Well, I can speak for the FBI, and that's presuming there's a CIA case file, and I've reviewed everything that the interagency, not I, the FBI, that was provided to us.
Would you be willing to look at the CIA file on Jeffrey Epstein?
If there is such a file, and if it has not already been turned over to the FBI will look at any new investigative leads.
Have you made any progress on the pipe bomb investigation January 6th, and have you made any progress on the motive of the Las Vegas shooter?
As to the first, it's an ongoing investigation, and we have made progress. As to the second, sir, I'll have to get back to you.
All right, thank you. I yield back.
Mr. Chairman, I have a unanimous
Gentleman
consent
yields back.
request.
Unanimous consent request from the gentleman from New York.
I ask unanimous consent to introduce an unsigned memorandum from July 7, 2025 that says we did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties with the insignia of the Department of Justice and the FBI.
Without objection.
The core questions still unanswered. Who is being protected? And why are the full details of the Epstein network still obscured? During this heated confrontation, Representative Thomas Massie forced FBI Director Kash Patel to account for the shocking disconnect between his public statements and the documents sitting in the Bureau's possession. We know, based on Massie's statement, that the FBI possesses FD302 documents containing victim statements that detail at least 20 men, including 6 billionaires, a royal prince, a high-profile government official, and a CIA chief to whom Jeffrey Epstein allegedly trafficked minors. The tension lies in the fact that Patel previously asserted there was no credible information that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone besides himself. Massie challenged this directly, asking Patel if he was asserting that the victims who provided these detailed statements in the 302 documents were not credible. Despite Patel's assurance that the FBI has been reviewing the entirety of the Epstein files and is willing to follow any new leads, the FBI has reportedly already determined that no further disclosure regarding the investigation would be necessary or appropriate, according to a July memo highlighted in the hearing. This hearing forces viewers to grapple with a stark conclusion driven by the facts presented. The investigation into Jeffrey Epstein appears less constrained by limited search warrants and more by political calculation and the powerful reach of those allegedly involved. Representative Massie's direct accusation that the former administration, including Donald Trump and Director Patel, is trying to protect rich and powerful people who are his friends, cannot be ignored. This narrative is supported by the context of the hearing, which revealed documents referencing claims that Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. If, as Massie claims, the FBI has documents detailing crimes committed by 20 specific high-profile individuals, but an FBI director publicly states there is no credible information on co-conspirators, we must critically analyze whether the obstruction is investigative or political. The rush to release documents on the day of Massie's discharge petition, leading to unredacted names of victims, further suggests the handling of these files has been politicized and reckless, prioritizing timing over the protection of the victims themselves. Ultimately, this confrontation leaves us questioning. Have the resources of the U.S. government, as implied by Massie's accusations and the documents on intelligence connections, been used not to pursue justice for minors, but instead to ensure that the global elite whose names are contained in those 302 files remain permanently untouchable? And if these files were truly reviewed by multiple administrations without any of these high-profile individuals facing investigation, what does that say about the true scope of power and privilege in America?